Okay, today we're going to talk about momentum, what it is. Now, there's some people who call it scripting, there's some people who call it handicap. I'm going to tell you exactly what is scripting, what is handicap, and what is momentum. These three things are different, they're not the same. So we're going to differentiate them. We're going to go into some examples. The next best thing to the code is to see the gameplay. You see scripting in action. You see things happen which shouldn't happen in a fair competitive player versus player game. These things are not bugs, which you can explain away and say, okay, you expect something like this to happen once in a while. It's none of that. These are not bugs, these are scripts, these are artificial AI influence. Basically, you're going to notice a pattern, different matches, different in-game characters, yet similar behavior and events. This is a script in programming when a series of commands are executed to cause a specific result. This is a script. In video game terminology, the word has a more vague meaning and it's used to refer to a clearly defined outcome based on actions in the game. Example, you start an encounter with a boss in an RPG video game. The non-player characters, the NPCs, move in the same pattern each time the encounter is started. They use the same rotation of abilities. When the player does an action, the AI behaves in a specific way. This is the kind of script definition that we'll be using. Some people mistakenly think it means a clearly defined outcome regardless of in-game actions, and that is a little misleading. Although it does encompass some of what scripting is in video games, it isn't the clearest explanation to go by. So for all intents and purposes, it's not the definition we'll be looking at today or using here today. Sometimes you might say, that looks suspicious, but I'm not fully convinced. And I can agree with you, I can side with you, I see what you're saying. But then I'll show you more incriminating evidence of EA Sports guilt. So when you see something that's not entirely convincing, just bear with me. I'm trying to build onto something bigger. And as long as this video might turn out to be, sadly it doesn't contain everything I have on this topic. There are more videos and more clips I could have included, but I just want to clear my Xbox Live storage. I want to have good quality gameplay saved over there, not all of this BS, excuse my language. So yeah, let's get right to it. Okay, let's jump right in. So in the first match we'll be looking at, it's I think from Division 1 or from Division 2, I don't quite remember. And I'm playing with a really standard team, surprisingly. My opponent has a really similar team. Player stats wise, it's about even. And so you'd think that there should be no sort of handicap or anything going on, but...
Well, nobody's made a mistake, have they, at this stage of the season, but it's a good group of players this manager has got together, and he should be confident of qualifying for the Champions Weekend League.
As you can see from the very beginning, my players play it really well. Ball control is really good, pass completion, excellent, ball control, everything. Now something just happened, it's known as a challenge function. Now a challenge function is used in video games to help assess a player's skill. So even if the players have similar armor, similar weapons, and in FIFA, similar team rating, there are other ways in which the game can assess a player's skill level. And this is done using the challenge function. Now something else has happened after that. I make a pass to a player who is in a really threatened position, and as you can see, his movement is restricted by the game AI. He clearly moves back, avoids the pass, even though when you look at the pass power, the distance, and all of that, you can see he is the intended target, and he was in the clear, he was in a good position to receive it, but somehow the game changes this. This is because the AI knows when a player is in a threatening position. It knows which positions on the field have the highest probability of scoring, things like that. In this case, or more accurately, we should say that the difficulty of scoring from passing to someone who's at a corner flag is higher than the difficulty of passing to someone who is in the penalty box. Measure certain things such as success rate. In FIFA, a success rate will be how many shots on target you have. This is useful in assessing the player's skill. Another metric for this is resource accumulation, and in FIFA, resource accumulation will be number of goals that you have. And so if you have a lot of goals, the game is going to rate you as someone who is, well, skilled, of course. Now, the AI has access to in-game stats, ongoing matches, so if you're currently playing a match and you have 3 or 4 goals, the game has a rating it's going to attribute to your team or your profile. But the game also has access to matches that you have already completed. So let's say you're in a losing streak and in the last 4 matches, you have scored only 1 goal and other people scored you about 3 goals in each of those matches. So now you are at a deficit. And so even though you might be maybe 4 up in the current match, the game can still see it as a deficit when looking at the total over 5 games. I hope this makes some amount of sense. So this means that there are players who are in Division 1 who are not as good as players in the lower division, maybe in Division 2 or Division 3, and this is actually one of the reasons EA Sports hides the actual rating of each player. There is so much secrecy regarding matchmaking, the ELO, the Glitch Code 2, all other ranking systems in the game. It's so vague and obscure. Measure certain things such as success rate. In FIFA, a success rate will be how many shots on target you have. This is useful in assessing the player's skill. Another metric for this is resource accumulation, and in FIFA, resource accumulation will be number of goals that you have. And so if you have a lot of goals, the game is going to rate you as someone who is, well, skilled, of course. Now, the AI has access to in-game stats, ongoing matches, so if you're currently playing a match and you have 3 or 4 goals, the game has a rating it's going to attribute to your team or your profile. But the game also has access to matches that you have already completed. So let's say you're in a losing streak and in the last 4 matches, you have scored only 1 goal and other people scored you about 3 goals in each of those matches. So now you are at a deficit. And so even though you might be maybe 4 up in the current match, the game can still see it as a deficit when looking at the total over 5 games. I hope this makes some amount of sense. The main difference between momentum, handicap, and scripting actually has to do with the effects that it causes in the game. So for example, scripting is when the game tries to move players into specific positions in order to increase difficulty, decrease difficulty, or cause a specific outcome, like a goal, for example. Scripting is very commonly seen in set pieces, whether a free kick, a corner kick, things like that. And a handicap is usually what happens when your passes do not go to the players that you want them to go to, even though they have perfect vision of the person they want to play the ball to, and they have good pass stats, good pass, long pass, short pass, all of that, good vision, and yet they cannot connect certain simple passes. It can also affect first touches, so even though the player has good ball control, for some reason, you make a simple pass to him and he just cannot handle the ball, so that's where you can see handicap. Handicap is also prominently seen in the goalkeeping. The goalkeeper for most of the match is controlled by the AI, and so it's usually the first and the easiest parts of attack for game developers to control game difficulty. And finally, momentum is sort of a combination of all of these things, so when the player it's just impossible to get the ball from the player, it keeps rebounding back to the same player. It's all part of momentum. When you make a tackle, or sometimes you don't even make a tackle, the AI makes a tackle and draws a foul or a penalty for the opponent player, as you see later on. And when the referee decisions are going in favor of a specific team, there's also momentum. And so it sort of seems like the same thing, but ultimately they're actually different. The difference is not important. Basically, all you have to know is that there are in-game mechanics that try to change the balance of the game. Player, and it has no visible sliders in foot. So why do you see the same behavior in online matches that you would see when you modify the gameplay in offline matches? The answer? Because the AI is actually adjusting sliders based on your skill level. This is verifiable. Go over to your game, start it up, load it up, and adjust the sliders. In FIFA 17, these sliders are not as effective as they used to be, so if you have access to previous versions of FIFA, I encourage you, go test it out for yourself. Reduce, increase, whatever you want to do for CPU or for player, and look at the behavior, and then head over into Foot Online, and then during matches where you suspect something going on, just look at how your players behave. It's the same. EA have even admitted that there is a mechanic known as goalkeeper confidence, meaning your goalkeeper is more likely to let in a goal if the previous goal was from an easily preventable situation. Further evidence to support this? There are a lot of people using the commentary this year. It's really annoying, and I don't blame you. I play with commentary on. But yeah, actually in the commentary, when you concede a goal and concede a goal again and again, you actually hear the commentators say, your goalkeeper is timid. Timid? The word is used, it's not a coincidence. They are letting you know the goalkeeper's confidence has been reduced. The sad part is that EA parades this game as competitive and is willing to put up millions of dollars in prize money for the 2017 FUT Championship Series. There are millions of players who spend several hours a day just for a chance to qualify, but few of them know that the game is rigged. It does involve skill, I'm not going to deny that, but it's not in the way that they think. It's more of a personal skill challenge progression than an even skill that you expect in a competitive game like chess or a 100-meter sprint dash. It's not even for both sides. FIFA FUT. This game mode is quite controversial. I mean, you buy packs with real life currency and you get a chance to get better players, and even if you do not get a better player from the pack, you get something that you can sell in the in-game market. You get in-game currency and then you can get better players. So no matter how you look at it, it's basically pay to win. People misunderstand pay to win. They expect that a game that is pay to win means once you spend extra cash on the game, you're gonna get a significant advantage, like a win, and that's not what it means. It just means you get an advantage. It's not a guaranteed victory. And I think this is one of the reasons why EA uses dynamic difficulty. It's to help balance the game a bit, but we'll talk more about that later. As someone who uses an average team, and maybe you can even call it slightly below average, it's 80 rated, the other one is 81 rated, and I come up against really expensive teams all the time, and I can tell you for a fact that it's not always the most expensive team that wins, so I do understand that there is an element of skill involved. Okay, so in this match, what happened is something which, you know, in a player versus player video game, you should not have this kind of interference from the AI. Finally, he made a mistake, and I got a chance to score. But guess what happens? The AI takes control of my player and interferes with my play in order to ensure I do not score. You might say that, oh, it was it was bad luck. Kandreva makes a pass all the way to Saponara on the far side of the penalty box, and as you can see, it's an empty net from where Saponara is. But the AI takes control of Asamoah in the middle there, and Asamoah is left-footed, so the AI intercepts with his strong foot, yet does not score. This is a clear goal. There's no way it cannot be a goal. Unless the AI says, no way, you're not gonna score this. And then I show you another clip in which the AI scores. So now, as you can see here, it's a corner kick, and the AI scores with the goalkeeper. And I'll show you a closer look so that you can see that the human player is controlling a completely different in-game character, and so it's all the AI in a crowded position with a header. Now, that is even more difficult. Okay, so just to show you that the game is actually capable and does indeed change the trajectory of the ball, I'm going to show you a series of clips. Early on, I showed you a deflection where the player shot the ball right in the middle and it hit the player's elbow and sort of bent around the player into the net, and it avoided a deflection towards the player who was offside. It wasn't as clear in that video, but it actually was modified. I don't know if there was a better way for me to show it to you, but luckily I have other clips where you can clearly see that the ball after collision had the trajectory modified by the game. Sometimes you'd see the game calculated the correct trajectory for the collision, and fractions of a second afterwards it changed to a more favorable direction, and it always results in the ball finding its way to the attacker's foot, and all he has to do is kick it in.
Good position here. Great save. Shots on here. And there's a score here. And that has significance because they're now into the lead.
Now in this series of corner kicks that I'll show you, players are actually scoring goals without even making contact with the ball. That is just how silly this game is. Okay, so the commentary you just heard about, and they do lead now by 2, and they worked very hard for it. It should get them across the line, we'll see. And the other commentary, a 2-goal lead can be a dangerous one. And these commentaries are actually tied to some of the scripts going on in the game, but more on that later on. It's okay that the AI makes contact with the ball and scores for you, but now the AI is actually crediting you with a goal without even making contact. Unfortunately, it's not a case of an own goal, because when you look at the trajectory, the ball comes from one direction, the defender is moving his head in a different direction. There's no way the ball should go in the direction that it ends up going. Furthermore, when you look closer at the motion of the ball, you'd see it's completely unnatural. In this first example, Ronaldo scores a goal, but he never makes contact with the ball. In the next example, Rooney scores a goal, he never makes contact with the ball. It's the same situation, a corner kick from the right side of the field, there's a defender right underneath the path of the ball. It's pretty much like a script in a movie in which players are arranged in the same way and do exactly the same thing. So, a goal like this is what you call a script. Basically, it's repeating a certain pattern for a desired outcome. There's one more thing that is incredibly shocking, and that is sometimes at the end of a match, the highlights have been removed. Now this is clever. EA's AI is actually hiding its tracks. I'll show you match highlights after a match, 90 minutes or more of play, and there's only one thing listed. Sometimes there will be a lot of things listed, and all the close goals and scripted ball hitting the post, all of that is not included. This is not a joke. I have several match highlights in which things were removed. EA should come out and say, okay, there are further mechanics in the game that try to balance things, and sometimes it results in an unfair advantage for one team. I mean, there's nothing wrong with admitting that. The problem is if EA admits this, they are not going to make as much profits as they used to, because players will be less inclined to buy packs. Players would rather try to figure game mechanics rather than be stuck with the illusion that a better player will help them get further on. So it's currently a profit model, and it's in their best interest to pretend there's no such thing. Another thing I want to talk about is when the ball hits the post, its post is most likely due to scripting. I mean, if you have played FIFA since, it's like 2010, FIFA 11, FIFA 12, you'll notice that suddenly in FIFA 17, it's extremely easy for the ball to hit the post, or it happens too frequently. And so this is definitely something that was added to the game. There's no way to look at it. You play previous versions of FIFA, the tendency for the ball to hit the post were extremely low. Suddenly, FIFA 17, it's happening almost every single match. How is that even possible unless something was changed? So again, this is further evidence that the ball hitting the post is part of the added mechanics. Like, it is possible to aim for the post and hit the post. As you can see here, I'm trying to hit the post 3 times consecutively. I think the third try, it didn't work out, but it is possible. Sometimes I do it, I just go into the arena and just aim for the post. It seems like a bizarre thing to do, but it is possible. But that does not mean that any time the ball hits the post, the person's aim was poor. I mean, during gameplay, during a match, usually when it hits the post, it's related to scripting. Not always, but usually. And you can see in this clip, there is no reason the player should not score it, but it hits the post and magically goes directly into the keeper's arms. It's scripted.
We've still got 30 more minutes to go, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy that as well. Remy Cabala. Good pass. This could be a chance. That's good support play from his teammates. Now the shot. That's great. Opportunity now. Goodness me, it's hit the post.
So one of the ways in which the AI can help the weaker team is through set pieces. Free kicks, corner kicks. These two especially are very deadly. Sometimes you see that the game has given the other team a corner kick, and then after that they score. Basically, you try to clear the ball and your player sort of fumbles with the ball and goes out for a corner kick. This is scripted. The game wants a corner kick, and so it causes that to happen. You might think this is some weird conspiracy, but it is happening. I wish I had more clips so I could show you. Like, I do have more clips, but it's quite difficult to go through all of them, look for exact pieces that correspond to what I'm telling you. But all I'm suggesting is that you start to pay closer, better attention to what's going on when you play the game. You will notice that if you are the weaker team, or if your opponent is the weaker team, you're more likely to score from a set piece, you're more likely to see a rebound go to your team. Things like this are more likely if you are the weaker player. Now, if you are the more skilled player, do not under any circumstance kick the ball in long from a set piece, always play it short and try to create a better chance, because the game is going to mess you up. It's unfair, it's unfortunate, but that is how the game is.
Not just getting across, he thought quickly as well. Short passes, but they're keeping the ball. Remy. Nicely played through ball. Well, this attack got a bit of menace to it. Here's Ali. Good pass, getting it forward. Morales! So close to putting the cherry on the icing on the cake.
One of the arguments that people have made regarding this version of FIFA, that is FIFA 17, is that the skill gap seems to be smaller than in previous years of FIFA, and that's true. But what people do not notice, or do not realize, is the gap is smaller because of all this artificial difficulty going on, so that players who are not as good have less resistance and more aid from the AI, which makes up for the skill deficit, and players who are very good have less assistance, but they do not really notice it. It's how they play. They make up for gaps open in the defense by manually adjusting players and watching the offside line, looking for space before the player through pass, things like that. And so for players who are skilled at the game, it's not very noticeable. But for players who are not as good, players who in previous versions of FIFA probably got Division 4 maximum, they are currently able to get into Division 1. I play against players who are in Division 2, and sometimes they are actually better than some of the players I play in Division 1. Now, they do not know what's happening.
Cabala. And we're hearing there will be 3 added minutes here. There's good progress with this attack. Nothing wrong with that tackle. In fact, it was a terrific effort. Through pass. Ben Yedder! Niang. Lasana Diarra. 2 more minutes to play, that's of added time.
Okay, so now at this point you're probably gonna say, oh, so you're one of those people who believes that every win is due to skill and every loss is due to some jiggery pokery or whatever AI commentary says, some shenanigans. And actually that is not true at all. I do notice when the AI is actually working in my favor. As you can see in this clip, I'm barely doing anything. This is a Division 1 match, and I won 3-0. The other team it has more expensive players, Ronaldo, Bale, and all of that, Neuer in goal, and I easily won. The AI was literally holding my hands. This is what shouldn't be in a competitive player versus player game. I think it makes sense in lower divisions, like maybe Division 10 all the way to Division 5. The AI could have this sort of assistance to help players, but once you break out of it, you get into Division 4. And definitely in Division 1, this sort of AI assistance and handicap should not be in the player versus player game. At the end of this, I'm gonna show you a picture of some code-in comments which correspond to adaptive difficulty. I am fairly confident that this code that I'll show you, like the code comments, are not related to online gameplay. The online gameplay comments and online gameplay code-in is gonna be much more sophisticated. And if you're observant enough, you notice a lot of these things, but by looking at these code comments, you can see the mindset of the developers and what they think should be an advantage or what should become a disadvantage. There's a section that says something like, increase difficulty if you have too many shots, increase difficulty if you're leading by 2 or more goals, decrease difficulty if you do not have enough possession. I mean, seriously? Why is any of that in the game without the user's consent? Referee decisions are another way the game changes the balance of the match. Sometimes you push a player in the penalty box and it's not a foul. And then later on, there's a slide tackle, you pull his shirt and then it's a foul with a yellow card. Referee decisions are very inconsistent. They are another way the game uses to change the difficulty and script matches. So referee decisions, set pieces, and shots hitting the post. Okay, so I want to wrap this up quickly. People have a lot of questions about this. They say, okay, let's say all of this is true. How is it possible that there's some people who are able to consistently win a lot of matches? They can go on long win streaks. If there was some sort of handicap, rubber banding, or any of this in the game, shouldn't they be affected every once in a while? I mean, more often than they currently are? That's a good question. The answer is, it depends on how the rubber banding effect is being adjusted. 16, I noticed that it was usually affecting pass decision making of the players, and you usually see the handicap with your passes in FIFA 16. The thing is that in FIFA 16, the best players did not rely on passes at all. And so even if they were getting handicapped with passes, it did not affect their playstyle. Their playstyle was to power dribble, make maybe 1 or 2 passes and shoot. It was power dribble, skill moves, shoot. That was what was happening in FIFA 16. So as you can see, the way the handicap was programmed did not affect those players. So there were other good players who probably relied on passing, and they would get hit hard. So they will not win as many matches just because their playstyle was significantly affected. So that's one thing you have to take into consideration. How has the handicap been programmed? Does it affect the playstyle of the meta game, of the players at the top, or not? So just because people are winning a lot does not mean there's no handicap. It's probably their playstyle and the handicap have no intersection. Okay, so another thing is, usually the players who win a lot have very good teams. They have teams with high agility, high stamina. What this means is that they can make up for deficits in possession loss and failed tackles. They can just quickly recover. They can just sprint all game. Ruud Gullit is an example of a player who can just run the whole match. At the end of the match, he still has more stamina than probably a new player. So if you have a player like him and you get a handicap, you probably would not feel it. If you're good enough to make up for the handicap, you not even notice there was a handicap. You just sprint, recover the failed tackle. If there was a reduction in your first touches, your players have such high agility that they can easily maneuver, take the ball again. And so there's another thing you have to consider. The players who go on long streaks have really solid teams that reduction handicap will not be significantly felt. So when you begin to combine all these things, different playstyle, overpowered teams, it becomes more and more likely that it's completely possible for handicap to exist and players to have really long streaks. Some people look at statistics and say, if there was some sort of game balancing, shouldn't there be more drawers or something like that? It has nothing to do with drawers. The system is just a personal difficulty in order to make you feel interested and addicted to the game. It has nothing to do with trying to increase the drawers. It will probably script for a match to end 4-3. Not necessarily 4-3 affixed, but it will try to get many goals with a better team winning just by 1 goal or something. And any shot on target by the weaker team is gonna take a deflection, or it's just gonna find its way into the net, just for the weaker team to feel less broken. Sometimes players would prefer to lose 4-3 than to lose 1-zip, because 1-zip is like, you did nothing at all, you couldn't even score a single goal. But 4-3 is like, okay, I could have made it, I scored 3 goals, I just needed 1 more or 2 more to win the match or to break even. So there's that. And these companies have a lot of investment in psychology and trying to get players to appreciate the product, trying to get players to play more, trying to get players to buy more. It's not a very trivial issue at all. Companies will pay millions to billions to get a secret formula to make their product more desirable. This stuff I'm talking about is EA's most guarded secret. Even after watching this, there are people who bury their head in the sands and say, I think this is true, it's just too convoluted and too underhand. EA has no reason to do something like this. I mean, what is the motive? Like, seriously? I just told you what the motive is and you're asking what is the motive? I think there's a saying that for those who believe, no explanation is necessary. For those who do not, no explanation will suffice. So that is it. I'm gonna end this video here. There are a few things I could have talked about. Maybe I can do that in an upcoming video later on if I have some more time, but for now, this is it.